Hello, my name is Karl Kindt III. I am a real knight. Live here in St. Louis, dubbed by the mayor of St. Louis some years ago as the first knight of First Night, and by the mayors of 10 other cities. This presentation is about what a knight is today compared to what they were and what my primary duties are as I go forward into this world in my armor. My website is here, knightforhire.com, my email, and my phone number is 314-308-7075. So the knight's role in the past and today, and again, here's my information. First of all, why I became a knight. My father, Karl M. Kindt the second, it should say, not the third. I'm the third. And he was killed in World War II. He's buried in France. He was killed before I was born. I didn't come to know him except through my mother and a wonderful letter that he wrote to me and friends that knew him, and his sisters and my grandparents. Because I was not born until several months after his death, as he was fighting his way into Nazi Germany. In that wonderful letter that he wrote to me, he described how he wanted me to grow up as a person of chivalry, and that if this letter came to me, that would mean that he had given his life for the freedom of others. And so that letter impelled me in my life to seek to become a knight. In addition to that, the gentleman up here on the top is Mr. John Prescott, my stepfather. And he raised me to think of my dad to be like a knight, and he told me all kinds of stories about knights and chivalry. And how and why I became a knight. This was a TV interview that was done some years ago, and the URL is here, and so you can play this and off of the internet. Or if you get this PowerPoint that I am creating here, you'll be able to play it during the show. I'll just start it here.
You know what I've been looking for? A knight in shining armor. A vector. Some is not dead. Well, I don't have to look too far. There's a real-life knight living and working right here in St. Louis, and this knight lives by the knightly code, protecting the weak, defenseless, and helpless, and fights for the general welfare of all.
Okay, well, I just wanted to give you a brief taste of that. It was a very welcome interview and gave me a chance to explain why and how I became a knight and what I do. This is the oath of a knight: be loyal of hands and of mouth, and serve every man as best you may. I'm not going to read all of that. You can look at it and take a good gander at what chivalry really is all about. I was dubbed a mayor now by 10 mayors and a county executive, and these are some of the cities where I have been dubbed a knight here in America. There's Mayor Harmon back some years ago, dubbing me in City Hall. The armor of today's soldiers is quite different than the armor that medieval knights and modern knights wear. Our armor is made out of mild steel. It weighs about 80 pounds. Chainmail and all the different parts of the armor are labeled here for you, as the labels here are for the armor worn by our soldiers today, who are like knights for us. Armor must be made to fit your body. This armor was made by a man by the name of Christian Fletcher to fit someone my size. So if you're my size, which is about 5'10", about 160 pounds, you could fit into this armor. The crown that you see on my head there is a replica of the one on King Louis, the patron saint of St. Louis, And that crown was worn by me in a parade when there was a parade in St. Louis, and I led the parade as King Louis on July the 4th. And fighting dragons, a good friend of mine, David Altman, is holding the dragon head, and I'm being very careful not to hit him, but just a lot of fun. And I don't use my swords for any kind of battles. I don't believe in using it for that. I am an armed guard once in a while with off-duty police officers, but even then, I do not use my sword against anyone or any other weapons. I have a secret way of taking them down. If they are trying to hurt you, I go up to them and give them a big hug and fall down on them on the ground, because a knight in 100 pounds of armor is a good anchor for the bad guy till the police officers I'm serving with can come over and handcuff them and take them away. The shield that I have has symbols on it, the cross, symbol of our faith in Christ, Jesus. The blue and white stripes were worn by my father in the 3rd Division of the United States Army, and the 3 flower-like symbols, the fleur-de-lis, are symbols of the 3 oaths that I've taken. 1 oath as a scout, 1 oath to my wife Margie, and another oath that I've taken as a knight. The armor has a chainmail around the waist so you can bend and move quite easily, and also around the neck. You can see the chainmail there around my neck. And then the feet, these sabatons, there's hollow. There's nothing on the bottom of these. I wear knee-high moccasins underneath that part of the armor. That's called the greave. Here's a close-up of the chainmail. And then pieces of armor are described here in this PowerPoint that I'm running as a video. You can pause the video if you want to read all of this about each of the pieces. And here's some more of the pieces here. Once again, if you're watching the video, you can pause it and read the description of each piece. On the handle of my sword, the pommel, there's a dragon engraved. And inside the pommel of the sword, the knight puts 2 secret things there, a lock of his lady hair and a small scroll on which he has written down a verse from Ephesians 6 about the armor of God. The knight's role back in the Middle Ages was a soldier and a guard at castles and so on, as we well know. They went on the Crusades and so on. But today, a knight's role is quite different. Once in a great while, I will serve as an armed guard with off-duty police officers in some of the cities where I've been dubbed, but that's seldom something I do. Most of the time, it's promoting chivalry by telling stories, especially to children and young people around the country. Once in a while, I'll ride in a parade. This is me riding in a parade in St. Louis back some years ago on July the 4th. I have squires. This is Peter Lilly, who was training to be a knight, and I taught him some things about knighthood and so on. Tales of chivalry. So I'm going to tell a few of these stories to you. First of all, I'm going to talk about Sir Wally and the chicken, how to become brave. So, long time ago, there was a great knight called Sir Wally. He was the biggest knight I've ever heard about, but he was a bully. He thought he knew how to be brave, but he really didn't. I'm going to pretend just for a moment I am him. Yes, I'm Sir Wally, the bravest knight that ever lived. I'll tell you how to get to be brave. You get gigantic like me. I'm 8 foot tall. I'm bigger than anyone and anything, and that's how you get to be brave. What should I be afraid of? Yeah. And not only that, I make people do what I want them to do. Why not? I'm bigger than everyone, and stronger too, so I should have my way. My friends, Sir Wally is wrong about that. If you are bigger and stronger than other people your age, it means you were made that way so you could be more helpful to others and help them out. not bully them into doing what you want them to do. That's not the way of chivalry. Well, this story goes along. One day, Sir Wally was walking in a forest looking for some creatures to fight, and he saw on the ground the bear tracks, 3 bears, and they ran into a cave when they saw him coming, and they were hiding there. And he shouted at them, "You chicken bears, come on and fight me. I'll take you all 3 at one time. A bunch of coward bears. See, that's how I get to be brave. I'm bigger than all these creatures. They're afraid of me, yeah." All of a sudden, a little girl come running down the forest path, and she was screaming at the top of her lungs. "Oh, Sir Wally, please help me." "What's wrong, little girl? Something chasing you?" "Yes, there's a dragon coming after me." "Oh, a little dragon. I'm bigger than any dragon I've ever met. Just get behind me. I'll take care of you." "Oh, but Sir Wally, there are 2 things I should tell you about this dragon." "Well, all right. What are they?" "Well, he's not little. He's twice as big as you are." What did you say? He's twice as big as me?" "Yes, sir. At least twice as big." "Oh, no. Well, what's the other thing you got to tell me?" "Well, he breathes fire, and it's so hot I ducked behind a rock, but he melted the rock. Oh, it's such a hot fire." "What? He'll melt my armor?" "Little girl, I can't help you. I'm afraid. You go climb a tree. I'm going to hide behind a tree over here." So the little girl climbed up the tree, and Sir Wally hid behind the tree. Now, our dragon comes into the story. "Where's that little girl? I'm going to cook her and eat her as my lunch." And he looked around, and he looked up in the tree. "Oh, who told you to climb a tree away from a dragon? Look at my claws. Don't you think I can climb trees? Here I come to get you." And so the dragon climbed up the tree, and he opened his big mouth, and the little girl saw the fire gurgling in his throat, and she called to Sir Wally, "Oh, Sir Wally, please come and help me, please." And Sir Wally poked his head out from on the tree and said, "Don't point over here and stop shouting to me. I can't help you. He's going to come and get me if you do that." And Sir Wally hid back behind the tree. And the little girl looked down and saw that fire gurgling in that dragon's mouth. "Oh, no, oh, no." And all of a sudden, oh, I forgot to tell you part of the story. Over there behind the tree where Sir Wally is hiding, a little chicken just hatched out of an egg. A chicken had walked through and laid an egg there some time ago, and now the chicken egg hatches, and out there hops that little baby fluff ball chicken, a little baby chick. And it looked up at Sir Wally and said, "Oh, you be a big knight. What's your name? Look down here. Don't step on me, please." And Sir Wally looked down and said, "I'm not going to step on you, but be quiet. Don't you see the dragon up that tree? He'll come and get us. Be quiet now. I'm Sir Wally. Just be quiet." And so the little chicken looked up and saw the dragon on the tree, but also saw the little girl up there. "Oh, no, Sir Wally, you're a big knight. You should go help that little girl before the dragon gets her. Go help her." "I can't. The dragon breathes fire so hot he'd melt my armor. I can't do anything. Now you just be quiet." "No, if you won't go help that little girl, I'm an angry little bird, and I'm going to go help her." And Sir Wally said, "Would you be quiet? You're a little fluffball of feathers. You're just going to get us both cooked and eaten. Now be quiet." And the little chicken said, "No." And he ran over to the tree. He climbed up the tree, and he walked out on the dragon's nose, and he said, "You bad dragon, I'm angry at you for scaring this little girl. Now you go away." And the dragon looked at the little chicken on his nose and said, "Ha, ha, ha. A little chicken comes up against a fire-breathing dragon. I've seen everything now. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to snort fire out my nose, and I'm going to cook you first and eat you like a chicken nugget. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do." So the dragon took a deep, deep snort, and he was going to snort that fire out on that little chicken and cook that little chicken. But the little chicken took his feathery wing and tickled the dragon's nose. and then hopped out of the way, because now the dragon had to sneeze. A gigantic rocket ship-like sneeze. Achoo! And the dragon sneezed himself like a rocket ship up in the air, and he landed in the river, and he drowned because he didn't know how to swim. And the little chicken got on the little girl's finger, and they came down to Sir Wally, who now stepped out from behind the tree, and he said, "Oh, little chicken, how come you were so brave, and me with all my muscles and armor, I'm hiding behind a tree like I'm some kind of a chicken? How come you were brave and I was a chicken?" And the little chicken said, "Now listen carefully. This is the lesson of this story that the little chicken will teach us. Well, Sir Wally, what happened was this. When you saw the little girl in trouble, you thought of yourself, and so you hid yourself behind the tree. But when I saw the little girl in trouble, I didn't think of myself. I only thought of her. So I went to help her. I think that's how you get to be brave. You stop thinking of yourself and think of others instead." And Sir Wally said, "You're right, little chicken. I want to be brave like a chicken, like you." And so now we come to another story that I'm going to tell you, and it is Sir Quain and the Name Dragon, and how to have an interesting name and keep it interesting as well. Sir Quain and the Armadillo. A long time ago, I was walking through a forest. It was the middle of the night. The picture you see here doesn't show you how dark it was. It was so dark I couldn't see my gauntlet in front of my face. A gauntlet is your glove over your hand. And as I walked along, all of a sudden, I stepped on something. "Ouch, get off of me." And I said, "Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't see you down there." Oh, get off of me." "Are you a knight walking around in all that armor and you can't see where you're going in the dark? You could have stepped on a bunny rabbit." But what are you?" "I'm an armadillo." And if you had stepped on a rabbit or a squirrel with all that armor, you would have squashed them. But God gave me this armor, so I was protected." "But what is your name, Sir Knight?" "Oh, I don't like to say my name because it isn't very interesting at all, but I'll tell you since I did step on you. My name is Sir Quain." "Sir Quain? How do you spell that? What does that mean?" K for knight, W for without, A for Anne, I for interesting, N for name. Sir Quain, the knight without an interesting name." "Oh, that is not a good name for a knight like you. You need a much better name than that." "Well, I know, but I can't think of one." "I'll tell you what. On the other side of the forest, there's a name dragon, and you could go and get a name from the name dragon." A name dragon? I never heard of a name dragon. What kind of a dragon is that?" "Oh, he breathes smoke out of his nose. The smoke makes letters, and the letters go up and spell all kinds of interesting names." I like that idea. So as soon as the sun came up, we walked along together. But as we walked along, I thought to myself, wait a minute. I wasn't a very chivalrous knight, because the armadillo asked me my name, but I didn't ask him his. You need to show interest in people, and even in armadillos. So I said, "Sir Armadillo, stop there a moment. What is your name, sir?" And the armadillo said, "First of all, don't call me sir. I'm a lady armadillo." "Well, I'm sorry, my lady, but what is your name?" And then she started to cry. "Oh, I said, "What are you crying about? I just asked you what your name was." "I know, but I never had a name. My father and mother couldn't think of a name to give me, so I never had a name. And not only that, I'm going to be an armadillo mommy pretty soon. I've got 4 little armadillo babies growing inside of me, and they're going to be born, and I can't think of any names for them either. Wait a minute. Where are we going right now? We're going to go see the name dragon. Yes. And how long have you known about the name dragon with all those interesting names going up in the sky? Oh, ever since I was little. My mother and father told me about it. Well, why didn't you go a long time ago and get an interesting name for yourself? And now for your little ones. Well, I couldn't because, you see, the name dragon's favorite food is armadillos. And mother and father told me never, never go see the name dragon for a name, or I would have been eaten. But you're a knight and you got a sword, and you'll protect me, won't you? Yes, I will. Don't you worry about it. So as we walked along and got closer and closer to the named dragon, suddenly there was all kinds of smoke all over the path, and I started to cough, and it stung too. Children, remember, dragons stink very bad. If you smell something stinky, you better look around. There could be a dragon around, don't you know? Then the wind blew the smoke out of the way, and there standing before us was the biggest dragon I'd ever seen. And I said, "Oh, Armadillo, I don't think I'm going to be able to protect you against that dragon. Let's hide behind that tree over there in those bushes." And she said, "Okay, but you can't protect me?" "No, I don't think so. Not against that dragon." "Oh, we better just go then." "No, we'll be okay. We'll hide in the bushes over there before he sees us, and then we can peek out and you can pick your names." "Oh, all right." So we hid in the bushes and we watched as names came out of his nose. Interesting names too. And pretty soon Armadillo said, "Oh, look there's some names for my little babies going to be born. Arma Ursula, Arma Ella, Arma Emma, and Arma Isaac." I said, "Well, those are good names for you and your little ones, but what about your name?" "Oh, Arma Mama, there's my name. Now, you get a name." "Oh, I don't think it's going to be a knightly name. We better go." "No, no, keep looking." But as we looked, all of a sudden the dragon saw us peeking out from behind the bushes and came down and swallowed. And he came down and he swallowed Arma Mama right down his smoky throat. And I said, "What kind of a knight am I that I was going to protect Arma Mama? Now she's in the belly of that old dragon. Oh." And I said, "You bad dragon, why don't you try to swallow me?" And I was thinking of an idea now. And so the dragon said, "All right, I will." And he came down to swallow me. But what I did, I stuck my sword between his teeth, and he couldn't close his mouth. I reached down in his smoky throat and got a hold of the tail of Arma Mama and threw her out. And I said, "Are you okay?" "Yes, I'm okay, but my 4 little babies popped out of me and they're in the belly of the dragon now. Oh, please go get my little babies too." And so I said, "All right." And so I reached down into the dragon's smoky throat, and I grabbed a hold of one of their little paws, and the others hung onto each other's tails, and I pulled them out and I threw them over to by Arma Mama, and then I jumped out of that dragon's mouth. I don't know how I did it, but I grabbed his tail, I swung him around, and I don't know how I did it. I just got super strength, and I threw him in the river, and he drowned because he didn't know how to swim. And Arma Mama and Arma Ella and Arma Emma and Arma Ursula and Arma Isaac, they all lived happily ever after. But I told you this story because you have an interesting name that was given to you by your mother and father. And my real name is Karl. That's my name. It was given to me by my mother and father. And it's an interesting name. But You can make your name become something not very interesting to other people by not being kind to others. For example, let's say I'm a new boy, I come to your school. My name is Carl, and you come up and you're polite and you say, "What's your name, new boy?" I say, "My name is Carl." "Oh, Carl, come look at my castle I made out of popsicle sticks. Isn't it pretty?" And I look at it and I smash it to pieces. And then I see a little boy about to sit down at his chair at his table, and I run over and pull it out from under him, and he falls on the floor. I see a little girl, and I go over to her and I look at her hair, and I reach out and I pull her hair. Now, the next day, if I come back to your school again and somebody wasn't there that day, I did all these mean things, and they say to you, "What's that name of that new boy coming? Do you know him?" You're going to say my name like this: "That's Carl. Ooh, he's not a very kind person. He's not a person of chivalry. Doesn't know how to do the right things." See what happened to my interesting name that my mother and father gave me? But if I came to your school and instead of doing all those bad things and you showed me your popsicles castle, I said, "Oh, wow, that's a beautiful castle." And I saw a little boy about to sit down at his chair, but it wasn't under him far enough, and I run over and I pushed it under him so he didn't fall down and on the floor. And then I saw a little girl and I went over and said, "You got the prettiest hair I've ever seen." Don't you see? My name would be interesting to people now because I'm kind to others. And that's the lesson of Sir Quain and the Armadillo and how to keep your name and your reputation as an interestingly kind person. Once in a while, when I go to a scout meeting or a library or some other organization, they have watermelons, and they ask me, "Well, would you mind slicing our watermelon in half with your sword?" And so I've obliged them, and this is an example of it here. I'll play this video clip that someone made for me, and you can see the sword does a good job, and the children now enjoy the fact that their watermelon now is ready to eat. And then I safely put the sword away. Now, one thing, though, that I've heard about a long time ago, there was a knight named Sir Watermelon. I want to tell you his story because there's a good lesson in it about how to get mad and not do bad. Although this knight didn't know the lesson, I'll tell you the secret at the end of the story. It goes like this. A long time ago in England, there was a little boy. He was only 9 inches tall, 9 years old. Now, he hadn't grown very big for his age, that's for sure. And one day he stepped out of his house and he saw his father had raised really big watermelons. And he thought, it'd be fun to go over there and push that big watermelon near the ocean there up on the hill, down the hill, and watch it roll out into the ocean and the waves take it away. And so he decided to do that. He went out, got behind the big watermelon, pushed as hard as he could, and he couldn't do it. "Oh, I'm just too little. The watermelon's taller than me. But that's okay. I'll walk down the hill and play in the sand at the beach." So he walked down the hill. But as he walked down, he heard a thumping and bumping noise behind him, and he turned around and saw somehow the watermelon had broken off the vine and was bouncing down the hill right after him. So he ran as fast as he could, as fast as his little tiny legs would carry him. But the watermelon bounced up, hit him on the head, and pushed his face right down in a big mud puddle. Oh, he got up. Mud in my face and my eyes and my ears and my nose. Oh, in my mouth. Yuck. And he watched the watermelon bounce out into the ocean, and the waves carried it away. But now he got really mad at watermelons. He went like this. "Oh, I'm so mad at watermelons. When I grow up, I'm going to become a big knight. I'm going to get a big sword, and I'm going to go around and cut up every watermelon I can find." Unfortunately, that's exactly what happened. He grew up to be a big knight, got himself a big sword, and if he come to your village, he would be like this, real friendly at first. "Hello there, Sonny, how are you today? By the way, do you have any watermelons here in your village? I'd like to see them." "Oh, sure, we have a lot of watermelons. Come on out here." But as soon as he got out there, do you think he just wanted to look at your watermelons? Oh, no. He took out his big sword and whacked every one in half. And he did this village after village after village in England until there were no more watermelons left in the whole land of England. And then he went back home, walked down to the beach. He looked out on the ocean and he said, "Little watermelon, out on the ocean, I'd like to see you again. Why don't you come back? Come on back home." And as he watched, he saw way out on the horizon of the ocean a tiny speck. "Is that the watermelon? Is it? I think it is." And as the waves brought it a little bit closer, he saw it was the watermelon. "I'm not afraid of you now. I got my big sword." But as the waves hurled it closer and closer to the shore, he saw he was in big trouble. Because remember how he was a little boy and grew to be a big knight? Remember how the watermelon was out on the ocean all these years while he was growing up? Well, it didn't stop growing either. It kept on sucking up more and more water. And now it was bigger than a house. And a giant wave hurled it up on the beach right at Sir Watermelon. And he tried to run up the hill away from it, but he couldn't run very fast in all the armor. And the watermelon caught up to him, rolled right over the top of him, and pushed him, armor and all, right down into the mucky mud. He got up. "Oh, not again. Look at the mud all over me. Oh, and my mouth again. Oh." And as he watched, the watermelon bounced over the hill, and it started to bounce down the other side. "Oh, no, Father and Mother are sleeping in the house at the bottom of the hill. I've got to do something. What can I do?" Sometimes I have to think of an idea real hard. I pound on my helmet. So he knocked on his helmet. And the idea came to him what to do. He took the sword, he threw it at the giant watermelon, and he cut it right in half. And everyone lived happily ever after, except this night, Sir Watermelon never learned the lesson of how to be mad and not do bad. Because you know as well as I do, it's a bad thing when you get mad to go around and cut up other people's watermelons without their permission, which is what he was doing. So the problem is, all of us from time to time probably have gotten mad and done a bad thing. But I've learned the lesson of chivalry, how you can get really, really mad and not do bad. And I'm going to tell you that secret now so you know it too. Here's what you do. The next time you get mad, "Ooh, I'm so mad about this," whatever it is, you start thinking, what can I do that's good to get this mad strength out of my body? Because you can't just hold mad strength in your body all the time. You got to do something with it, and you don't want to do a bad thing. So think of a good thing. And then, if you can't think of a good thing to do with your mad strength and you happen to believe in God, you could even ask God, "Oh, God, what can I do with this mad strength so I don't do a bad thing?" And as you listen in your mind, you might hear some thought come to your mind like this from God: "Clean up your room." And so you run up your room and you put away all the toys, you make your bed, and you put all the books back on the shelves, and so on and so forth. And pretty soon it's all picked up and nice and neat, and you've used your mad strength to do a good thing. Mother and Father might have heard all that commotion in your room. They knew you were mad and you ran up your room, and they're thinking you're up there messing it up. And they come up and open the door. "What's going on in..." "What? You were mad and you picked up your room? How come?" "Because I heard a knight tell me the secret of chivalry, how you can get mad and not do bad, and that's by thinking of something good to do with your mad strength to get it out of your body." So children, I hope you'll learn this lesson.
You know what I've been looking for? A knight in shining armor, a protector, someone to remind us that chivalry is not dead. Well, I don't have to look too far. There's a real-life knight living and working right here in St. Louis, and this knight lives by the knightly code, protecting the weak, defenseless, and helpless and fights for the general welfare of all.
Now, boys, the way you become a knight in this country is a little different than the way you became a knight a long time ago. But it's pretty much the same. The way it goes.
Now, this knight, whose real name is Karl Kindt, didn't arrive here by time travel. He's a modern-day knight living by the ancient oath. And according to him, if you want to become a knight, you must take this oath and swear it to God, an oath which is about 1,000 years old. Since a knight is an armed guard, you must also have a suit of armor made to fit your body. And thirdly, you must be dubbed a knight by those who have the power to do so.
Now in America, we don't have a king or queen like they did in the Middle Ages, but that's because in 1776 the American people took that power away from kings unto themselves, and they are the ones that can dub their own knights. So about 10 years ago I put an article in the newspaper that said, Karl Martin Kindt III, a would-be knight for hire, I have armor, I will travel. And since then I've been dubbed a knight by not only 5 mayors and a lot of children, but I've served about 10,000 people here in this country.
But what does that mean? What service does an ancient knight in modern times offer to people of today? Well, at the beginning, even this knight wasn't so sure.
The first call I got was from a woman who, it's an older woman, and she said, are you the knight? I said, yes. And she said, well, could you come over and help me? My sink is leaking. And I said, well, what would a knight have to do with a sink? She said, well, I don't know. I didn't know what knights did today, which was a good question, you see.
So knowing his calling wasn't to become a plumber, Karl narrowed down his knightly duties to match his armor.
I promote the cause of chivalry.
What is chivalry?
Chivalry, simply defined, means to learn what the right thing is to do and how to go about doing it.
I think just as important as the how he promotes chivalry is the why.
The knights in history and today.
Karl shares his story on his website, knightforhire.com. And while it may seem kind of funny, a grown man dressed in a suit of armor, his reasons behind it are sincere.
When I was a little boy, growing up, I was told by my stepfather and my mother about my natural father, who was killed before I was born in World War II. And a letter was presented to me that he wrote to me. He knew I was on the way. And it was addressed to the new one, since he didn't know if I'd be a boy or girl. And he, in that letter, inspired me to, in a sense, become a knight by saying he wanted me to grow up to be a person of chivalry, that he'd prayed for me that I would come to, serve God.
So 10 years ago, on the 50th anniversary of his father's death, Karl visited the site in Germany where he died. And it was at his father's grave where he became inspired.
I just was inspired, I think, by God to try to think of a way, a sort of a humorous maybe way as well to promote the cause of chivalry, but also to seriously honor those who do defend us and our freedom.
And boy, did he get inspired. So inspired, he had this suit of armor made for a mere $4,763.17. Is that comfortable?
It isn't too bad. It was made to fit my body. So after you get used to the weight, you can move around in it quite well. It's better if you're up on a horse like this.
So now let's get back to the how. How does an ancient knight promote chivalry in today's society? Well, kids are a good place to start. These are Boy Scouts from the Sacred Heart School in Fenton. And tonight, Karl Kindt is teaching them how to do the right thing through storytelling.
And so then he went back home, and he walked down to the ocean, he looked out on those waves, and he said, I wish that watermelon that bounced up and hit me in the head and pushed my face in the mud when I was a little boy would come back now.
there are things that are right and there are things that are wrong, and that there is a way to know, what's right and wrong, and that they can be empowered to do the right things in their lives, and that's the best way to go.
Year after year, he stood there on the beach looking for the watermelon. The children would come up.
Do other people take what you do very seriously as well, or do they just think of it as a joke?
Most children do, and some adults. The mayors of 5 cities did, including the mayor of the city of St. Louis. So I tend to think that being serious about chivalry, but in a humorous way, a lot of people believe in that, and that's what I try to emphasize.
Remember, he has armor and will travel, and his lessons of chivalry aren't just for kids. You're never too old to learn how to do the right thing.